right, we're going to talk about finding the area today. What is the area? Does anybody know what the area is? It's the inside measurement of a figure. That's right. So an area, here's the official definition. Area is the amount of space that's inside of a shape. Yesterday we talked about the perimeter, which was the outside measure. Now we're talking about all that space on the inside. So as you can see, I have inside of this rectangle, I'm filling it up with smaller rectangles, and it's being totally filled up. All of that space that you see being filled in by the little rectangles is called the area. Now this should give you a big clue that when we use our measurements, they're not going to be linear here. They're going to be squared because we take the length times the width. We're going to be using multiplication. So you see how those little rectangles were built? It's like having little squares inside. So if I had a length of 1 centimeter and a width of 1 centimeter, my answer would be 1 centimeter squared. Okay? So for area, you must have squared units because that multiplication is involved. Square units, not linear ones. So I want you to look at these 4 shapes and use your judgment to order them from smallest to largest. We have A, B, C, and D. Which one is the smallest? D, okay, and then what's after D? B, and then what's after B? C, and then A is left, right? Okay. So you guys said D, B, C, A. So when we order these shapes again, what we're going to do is we're going to put the squares on top of them because we know that area is going to be in square units. So you guys said that D was the smallest. If I count across, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I have 18 columns and 2 rows. So what's 18 times 2? 36. Okay, then you said B was next. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times 3 is how much? 36. Then on C you said we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's 9? And there's 4 rows. So 9 times 4 is what? 36. And then on A we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across and 6 down. What's 6 times 6? 36. So even though these may look like they're different sizes to the naked eye, when you actually put squares on top of them, they're all the same area. Okay? Every single one of these has the same area. 36 square units. So sometimes you can't go by what it looks like. You have to actually do the math. Any other insights about that? Is it kind of freaking you out that it was different? Hello? Are you guys awake this morning? Okay, area of a rectangle. We had C, and C, remember, was 9 times 4, 9 units for the columns and 4 rows. So we know that that's 36 square units. We don't know what the units are in this case. But the formula is to take the length and multiply it by the width, and that tells you how many square units you would have. So the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. We abbreviate that by putting A for area, which is equal to the length times the width. And anytime you have two letters side by side, remember that's multiplication. So that's length times width for short, if you want to write that down for your formulas. And I think I do have these in your packet already for you. Now we've already calculated these, so I'm going to go through this quickly. If you want to make note of it, you're going to use the same formula for each one. Like I said, number 1 was 6 times 6 gives you 36 square units. Number 2 was 12 times 3 gives you 36 square units. Problem number 3, we had 9 times 4 gave us 36 units. And on number 4, which was D, we had 18 times 2, which was 36 units. So they all are 36 units squared. Now, here's an example where we need to calculate the area of a rectangle. Can you tell me what the area of this rectangle is? 28 what? Square centimeters, or you could say centimeters squared. Either way is okay. You'll just take 7 times 4 to get 28 centimeters squared. Now, what about this one? On problem 2. 15, is that centimeters, Nancy? Meters. M is just meters, right? So 3 times 5 is 15, and we'll just write meters squared. Pretty easy, right? Okay, good. All right, on example 3. Ooh! Now, imagine that you have this L shape. This is called an L shape. And we do areas of L shapes all the time. Can you split this L shape into 2 rectangles? So a strategy for solving L shapes, because there's more than one, but one strategy you could use that I'm going to present to you is to split this up into 2 rectangles, get the length and the width for both rectangles, find the area for rectangle 1, find the area for rectangle 2, and then just add the areas together, okay? That's a strategy. Another way people do it is they just get the area of the whole entire thing, and then they subtract out the rectangle that's missing. For me, that's a lot of extra work. I think it's just as long to do it the other way. So I like to just split them into 2 rectangles. So remember, there's always more than one way to do your math problems. Let me show you the way that I prefer to do these. Let's split them in 2. You're going to have an area 1, which will be this larger vertical rectangle, and an area 2, which is a little shorter, wider rectangle. And we need to find the area of area 1 and the area of area 2 and then add it. So what would the area of area 1 be? Now how'd you get that? 2 times 5 is area 1, right? It's very clear to see that the width is 5 and the length is 2 here in red. So that's 10 centimeters squared. What about area 2? What's missing on area 2? I see the length is 3 But what do I have to get? The width. Now, how'd you get that it was 6, Nancy? Yeah, if you look at both widths that are there, you have 8 for the entire length of the L shape, and then you have 2 for just the A1. So if you take the difference of those two, you're going to get 6 for this width. So we take 8 minus 2, we'll get 6. What's 6 times 3? So we're going to say 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 6 times 3, which is 18. We total those together, and what's the entire area of this L shape? It'll be 28 centimeters squared. Don't forget your units. 28 centimeters squared. So let's review this strategy for L shapes. First, we split the L shape into 2 different areas. We found the length and the width for the first area, which we got was 5 and 2. And we did the length and the width for area 2, which we discovered that the width is 3, but we had to calculate the length. And the length was 8 minus 2. We got 6. We plugged that into our strategy. 2 times 5 gave me 10, and 6 times 3 gave me 18. I add the 2 areas together and got 28. Then I made sure that I wrote down the correct unit. In this case, it's centimeters, and I squared it because we're talking about the area. Any questions on how to handle an L shape? Because you guys will have to do some L shapes today. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you some examples to do, and you guys tell me what the answers are. Oh, I did the first one for you, sorry. 8 times 6 is 48, 48 centimeters squared. So you guys do problem 2 and problem 3, which is an L shape with your table mate. You and your table mate do those 2 problems. Number 2 and number 3, and tell me what your answer is. Number 2, you have to multiply decimals. Number 3, you have to use the L-shaped strategy. Okay, what did you guys get for number 2? On number 2, you got how much? You do 4.2 times 2.7. How much was that? I got 11.34 meters. Did you guys take 4.2 times 2.7? Yeah, 1134, okay. And then what did you get for number 3 when you split it up into 2 rectangles and figured out what the area was? Because the first one's easy. It's 12 times 8 is 96. But then you have to take 17 minus 8, which gives you 9, and 9 times 5 is 45. So what is 96 and 45? 141 cubic centimeters. That's right, Nancy. Okay? Any questions on any of these problems that we did here? James, did you have a question? Well, this one here on the L shape? Okay, so 17 minus 8 is 9. So this one will be 9 times 4, and it's not to scale. I'm sorry, 9 times 5, which is 45, right? And then 12 times 8 is 96, so that's the second area. And then add those two together and you get 141. You see how to do it? Shakri, you understand it? Okay. All right, good. So I'm going to move on to a different shape, the area for a different shape, okay? Remember that the area is the inside measurement of a figure. And, oh, and you need to practice. I should have some triangles in here, I hope. Okay, here we go. Now listen, you guys. A triangle is half of some rectangle. So if you can get the area of a rectangle, you should have no problem getting the area of a triangle. You just need to remember that a triangle is half of a rectangle. You have to divide the answer by 2. So let's do it. Let's show you physically what that looks like. Here's a triangle. I could take this triangle, make its duplicate, and flip it on the other side, and it's a rectangle. So that's what I mean by every triangle is half of some rectangle. And it doesn't matter what kind of triangle you have. This is true for scalene, and in this case you have a right triangle, but it's true for all triangles. So if I impose all of the square units, just like we did with the rectangles in the previous section, I'm just going to go 5 times 8. How much is that? But if I only need half of it, what would it be? 20 centimeters squared. Okay? So all you really need to remember is that any triangle is half of some rectangle. And the formula is your length times your width, or what we call in triangles the base times the height. Notice that the base and the length are the same, and the height and the width are the same. So we just change the wording around because it's a triangle. But the base times the height divided by 2 gives you the area of that triangle. So let me show you that real quick here. So you take that length times width, and you're just gonna take that area and divide it by 2. And you get 20 centimeters squared. So the formula is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 the base times height. Most of my students just like to remember base times height divided by 2. They both mean the same thing. Half the base times the height is the same as the base times the height divided by 2. So let's do a couple of triangle problems. Now, notice this is not a right triangle like the first triangle. This is what we call the scalene triangle because all of the sides are not equal or have a relationship. They're all different sizes. So when you have all different sizes, that's called a scalene. But you see how I could split this triangle in 2? This particular space is the same as this one, and this particular space is the same as that one. I just want to show you that every triangle, no matter what kind of shape it is half of some rectangle. You can put a rectangle around it. So that's why the formula base times height divided by 2 is true for all triangles. You see how this is just the flip of this, and this is just the flip of that? So you can always make a rectangle around a triangle. So the formula base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 the base times the height, is a formula that works for all triangles. Now, I need you to practice calculating and using that formula. What would the area of this triangle be? How much? 30 what? 30 centimeters squared. I take 6 times 10, which is 60, divided by 2, and I get 30. 30 centimeters squared. What about this figure? This is also a triangle. It's a scalene triangle. What's my base? What's my height of this triangle? Okay, so I need to take the base times the height, get that product, and then divide it by 2. Can somebody tell me what that is? 10.4 what, Mary? Meters squared. 10.2, and I went ahead and put the 4 in. 10.24 meters squared. Okay? So you want to look for the height of that triangle. Not the side, but the height. Now, here is a combo shape. Do you guys see a rectangle and a triangle in this shape? Well, when you have a combo shape, you need to do the area of the rectangle, the area of the triangle, and then add those two areas together to get the area of the entire shape. Very similar to what we did with L shapes. Okay? So, let's pull those two shapes apart and figure out the areas. So the area of the rectangle, area 1, what numbers am I going to use for that area? 10 times 12, okay? And then what about for the triangle? Area 2. No, not 16. 16 is the whole thing. I take 16 minus 12 and got 4. So my base is 4, but my height stays the same. It stays as 10 because that's what the height of the triangle is 10. Do you see the height is the same on this side? Okay. Yeah, you had to subtract 16 and 12. That's right, to get 4. So, let me plug these numbers in here so you guys can see where we got the numbers from. Now I need to calculate the area of area 1 and the area of area 2. So area 1 is going to be 12 times 10, which is 120 meters squared. And area 2 is going to be 4 times 10 divided by 2, which is 20 meters squared. So what's my total area? 140 meters squared. Any questions about how we broke up this shape into a rectangle and a triangle? Apply the length and the width and the base and the height, and then solved for the areas for area 1 and area 2. And then after that, the last thing we did was add the two areas together to get the answer. So if you see a combination of shapes, sometimes you have to break those shapes up, figure out the little pieces, the area of each piece, and then combine them all again. Any questions about this process at all? Miriam, no? Nobody has a question? Okay, this is... Yeah, we had to look at the horizontal measurements, and then you had to take 16, which was the whole entire thing, and subtract it by the length of the rectangle, which was 12, in order to get the base of the triangle. You see how that worked? Okay. So yeah, we had to use subtraction to do that. And I wrote that here so you would see where the 4 came from. Well, yeah, on the L shape you get the 2 rectangles. No, these are the only 2 shapes that I see. Oh yeah, like a L shape. When we do circles next week, sometimes you'll have a rectangle or a square and a semicircle. Yeah, that we have a lot of architects like to do all kind of different shapes. So you'll see more than one combo shape, yes. In answer to your question. Okay? So let's have you guys actually do some of these. I think I did the first one for you on this PowerPoint, okay? So we know that 10 times 8 is 80, and half of 80 is 40 centimeters squared. I'd like you and your table mates to take a minute and do problem 2 and problem 3. Notice that problem 3 is a combo shape. Problem 3 is a combo shape, so be careful. Okay, so James, what did you get for number 2? 3213 what? Okay, 3213 meters squared. Anybody get to the combo shape yet? I see the rectangle will be 12 times 18. What's the base going to be of the triangle? 7 times the height of 12, right? 7 times 12 divided by 2. So what did you get, Tim? What did you get for the area on number 3? Violina, did you get the answer? What was it? You got 42? No, it has to be bigger than 42. You need to go 12 times 18. That's going to be a big number, right? And then you take 25 minus 18. The base of the triangle is 7. And the height is 12, which is 84 divided by 2. Okay, Nancy, did you get it? 258 what, sweetheart? Meters squared? Okay, that sounds right. Okay, did you do 18 times 12 for the rectangle? That stops right here. What'd you get for 18 times 12? 216? Okay, now the base of the triangle is going to be 25 minus 18, which is 7. 7 times 12, because the height is 12 of this triangle, is 84. Half of that is 42. So 42 plus your 216 is 258, is it not? Okay. Yeah, that is it. Which is 7. Oh, no. 7 times 12, you need to do the height. Write the formula down so you don't do that, okay? You wrote that base down way too many times, okay? All right, now how are you guys feeling about this? Pretty good? You think you can do area of a rectangle? A square is done just like a rectangle. You just take it, it's the same number. Length and width would be the same number. Okay? So the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, or you could just say base times height divided by 2. Whichever way is the easiest for you to remember it, okay? Now go ahead and go to your packets. You have a pre-test and a post-test in your packet. Your pre-test is BIZFRD3E. Your post-test is U5OKSROS. On page 2, I've written down some of the formulas that we have done for the last 2 days. The area and the perimeter, you have the definition. One is the measure outside, which is perimeter, and one is the measure inside, which is area that we're talking about today. And you have a couple of examples. Page 3, you have the 3 formulas that we're going to be using today. The area of a rectangle is the length times the width. The area of a square is also the length times the width, but it just so happens that the sides are the same. So it's just the side times the side, really. And then the area of a triangle is just to take the base times the height and divide by 2. So if you need to refer to the formulas, just go to page 3 in your packet, okay? All right, now page 4, you guys have some actual problems to do. I think page 4 is pretty self-explanatory. On page 5, you have a problem number 9, which is a combo. I put a combo example up here above, so you can do something similar here on number 9, just to remind you of how to do it. You also have some more combos on page 6, problem number 12 and problem number 13. You also have problem 14 and 15. I want to make sure you can do these combos and not feel that you can't handle them, okay? On page 8 is the strategies for solving word problems. And then we have a couple of word problems. This is what I'd like you guys to do first off. Is we will leave the word problems for after break. I'd like you and your table mate to get the first section done, which is page 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you guys work on page 4, 5, 6, and 7. Get your answers, and we will go over the ones that you had difficulty with, okay? After break, we will tackle the yum-yums, okay? I want to leave the yum-yums for after break, okay? So go ahead and start working on that. Shakri, do you want to work with somebody? You can come up here and work with, looks like you don't have your little mate today. So come and work with James and those guys. Okay, so work on those, and then let me know if you guys get stuck on anything.